Tonight on the Black Channel, the alt-right is stinging mad at reparations and is now taking direct aim at the new black media over it. The Black Channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel. And I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program, let me tell you here, folks, we're going to have a slow roast over this. We're going to have a slow roast over this because none other than YouTube alt-right sensation Matt Walsh, and I've warned you all for years that these internet platforms make it a job to boost these hardcore white supremacists. They make it their job to do that because, of course, without financing, it can't keep going. It collapses under its own weight. So you got to make sure these guys are papered up, well-fed, well-paid, well-sponsored, and well-promoted. As you all know, on last week's program here, I pointed out, and this is a guy who gets promoted by YouTube. Oh boy, they made sure to boost him across the board. On these internet websites, they boost him across the board. And you all saw as last week, I pointed out to you that, by the way, there's been a bit of a change here. Old Matt is no longer sitting up here chasing people about transsexual issues. He's instead now doing what they always do and pivoting back and saying, you know, the real threat is them Negroes over there. And last week, if you remember, I showed you where a story about the Crumblies, a white teenager who goes on a shooting spree, and before it's over, he tells you that it's about black folk. That we are the issue. Well, not to be outdone, and I know Matt saw it. We all know he did. So he didn't like what he saw last week, so he did what they always do. When they take a L, they start lashing out. So Matt decides he's going to go real hardcore this time here. He's trying to take the focus and the onus off of the losses they've been taking. So he decides to go into a different direction here. And so he does a story about California and the Reparations Task Force out there, and this nonsensical conclusion and bills that they're throwing out there, calling these non-reparations as a reparations package. Well, Matt thought he was going to seize upon something here, and fair use, Matt, YouTube, and everybody else here, by the way, fair use is before we begin. So he was upset about that, and here's some of his comments here. Well, let me go ahead and play this, and we're going to slow roast this tonight, because I want this to marinate for you.
Until recently, it was hard to think of a post-George Floyd innovation that failed more quickly or more spectacularly than the defund the police movement.
Okay, now, first of all, as we've all pointed out, there has been no defund the police movement. Nobody has seen their police department's budget cut. But this is the lie they keep telling. I also want to point out to you that you notice he begins talking about George Floyd. Remember, Matt is one of these people going around saying that George Floyd was on drugs. He's one of the pro-Derek Chauvin people. Let me be very, very clear. If you want to know what a monster this is, if you want to know what a white supremacist subhuman this is, he's one of the folks who defends what happened to George Floyd. He's one of those. And YouTube has given him almost 3 million subscribers. Now, our channel is shadow banned. We're hidden away. They don't recommend it. But he's got almost 3 million subscribers. So when we discuss reparations across the board, that's why I remind you all, going after government entities is one thing. But when YouTube does this kind of stuff here, it's like, oh, you got a bill coming for you too. This is the kind of folks that you promote. These are the kind of folks you keep papered up. There's a bill coming for you too.
as homicide rates ballooned by more than 30%. Cities like Los Angeles, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Minneapolis, New York, Austin, Oakland reinstated funds for police departments. They had all made a big show of cutting police funding, only to realize that, in fact, police actually serve a purpose. Imagine that. And then...
So just remember, these guys are going to lie and claim that that's what happened. And, of course, if you don't sit up here and call them out about it, they're going to just keep lying about it.
There were the stories of various politicians, including congressmen, who called for defunding the police only to demand police protection when they needed it for themselves. So the whole idea of defunding the police was a BLM-inspired debacle that seemed pretty hard to top. But now there's a contender, as hard as that might be to imagine. It was less than a year ago that a so-called Reparations task force in California announced a plan to pay $1.2 million to every descendant of a slave or of a, quote, free black person living in the U.S. prior to the end of the 19th century.
Now, you notice he's not happy about that. Now, listen to him. You think this would just be a minor thing. I want you to understand, they know the nuts and the bolts of this. These guys are terrified to hear a sophisticated, self-directed black electorate defining the issues on our terms. So when he heard about that distinction, when he heard about that delineation, do you see how he's very derisive? He pointed that out, that, by the way, there's a group here that's distinguishing itself. All of a sudden, he doesn't like that. How dare you define yourselves? Yeah, because we're making a specific claim. So notice, he's going into specific detail here to point that out because he doesn't like it, because he knows a sophisticated movement that defines itself specifically is a movement that will succeed in its goals.
Announced a plan to pay $1.2 million to every descendant of a slave or of a, quote, free black person living in the U.S. prior to the end of the 19th century. In all, that proposal would cost something like $800 billion to implement, which is more than double California's entire state budget. But nevertheless, there was optimism that this would actually happen. After all, this task force had spent around 2 years crafting this proposal, so they were pretty confident that they could see it through. Watch.
The task force is recommending payments of up to $1.2 million.
Let me go ahead and shift this over here so you all can see exactly what's happening on the screen there. Fair use, Matty boy.
$1 million for any African American over 70 that can trace their ancestry to enslaved people, compensating them for what it describes as harm to their health, mass incarceration, over-policing, and housing discrimination.
Land was stolen from many, as in my husband's case. My husband has the deeds to these properties. That's state. This land belongs to my descendants forever and ever.
Several descendants told their stories in a public forum. Task force member Jovan Scott Lewis insists reparations are not payouts.
We are returning monies taken, returning monies stolen, returning, right, the monies that had been lost.
Accent much?
Based upon the kinds of dispossession and disenfranchisement.
So they say they're not...
So that was the news story that Matt was using to, take audio from there. So you saw just a little bit he played. And from there, he's ready to do a victory lap and declare victory based off of just that. Talk about desperate and pathetic, but listen to him.
Taking the money from taxpayers and redistributing it, they claim...
Right? The monies that had been lost based upon the kinds of dispossession and disenfranchisement.
So they say they're not taking the money from taxpayers and redistributing it. They claimed and said that they are returning stolen money, even though the taxpayers that they're taking the money back from didn't steal it in the first place, and the people they're giving it to never had anything taken from them personally. But
now understand, just like every one of these alt-right white supremacists on YouTube and all these other places, he never makes a comparison to Jewish people, never makes a comparison to the Japanese. He never makes any comparison to these other people who've gotten reparations. So the reason that we need reparations is because white supremacists like Matt Walsh keep setting us aside and apart to focus on us for oppression and mistreatment. But he doesn't make any comparison between us and Jewish people and say, by the way, and the same thing done for Jewish folk, they shouldn't have gotten that. He never makes that He never makes that comparison, by the way. Then again, they never do.
That's what they're saying. Imagine applying this logic, of course, to all of the Europeans who were sold as slaves in North Africa. Or
imagine applying this logic to the Jews in Nazi Germany. Imagine, notice that's why I say he's not going to make that comparison. Imagine, hey, we are applying the logic in the 20th century. Notice that Matt, and he's not ignorant of this, Matt knows about Nazi Germany. Hell, he's probably an aficionado of Nazi Germany, as a matter of fact. Take a look at the haircut. He's definitely a fan. You can tell by looking at him. He's a fan. Now when he starts running down this list, why doesn't he do the obvious and compare us to Jewish people in Nazi Germany and their descendants who have received reparations, even though nobody put them in a concentration camp and nobody did that to them? Why doesn't he make that comparison?
didn't steal it in the first place, and the people they're giving it to never had anything taken from them personally. But, that's what they're saying. Imagine applying this logic, of course, to all of the Europeans who were sold as slaves in North Africa, or how about all the white people who are killed by black people every year in the United States, which is a vastly disproportionate number, or all of the descendants of these white victims entitled to reparations from all black people as well. Now, proponents of reparations never...
Nobody said that reparations is based on a murder rate. First of all, you're not counting the white folk to kill black people with impunity. Matt don't want to get into that. Hell, he didn't want to discuss the white people who kill white people with impunity. As a matter of fact, he didn't even want to discuss that. When I was going last week, everything comes back around to black folk, even when we got absolutely nothing to do with it. Matt, this is sad. This is pathetic. This is white supremacist.
Had a good answer to that question or any question. They couldn't answer anything at all.
I just gave you a very good answer to that question right there. This is not about a murder rate. This is about lineage, and this is about grievances here that were state sponsored and state condoned. If a black person kills a white person, they don't get reparations because the person who killed them is going to be punished now. Nobody is getting together and saying, well, they have a right to kill you, and oh well, there are no laws that black people are obligated to accept or recognize. So understand, these are not smart people. They're not bright people. They're not brilliant individuals. They're not. They're a bunch of boneheads. They're pathological, degenerate liars. And every argument they make can be knocked down by the average third grader with an ice cream cone.
Taken from them personally, but that's what they're saying. Imagine applying this logic, of course, to all of the Europeans who were sold as slaves in North Africa, or how about all the white people who are killed by black people every year in the United States, which is a vastly disproportionate number. Or
anybody want to round up and collate that number of, quote, Europeans who were enslaved in North Africa? Anybody want to go round that number up and see how many people that is enslaved? Weren't the Europeans invading Africa? He's talking as if Africans went up into Europe and grabbed a bunch of Europeans and brought them down to Africa. So in other words, I'm white and I say so. Whatever I say the history is, I'm white and I say so. What he's saying is gibberish and nonsense, completely disconnected from history. He's just doing science fiction now and hoping that nobody knows what history actually is. According to him, Africans went up into Europe, grabbed a bunch of white folk and brought them down into That's not even what the Moors did, sir. When they came into Europe, they set up camp, bruh. When they came into Europe, they're like, oh, we homesteading. So once again, he's making up lies. It's not even the same thing. You cannot compare what happened. Hell, what he's saying actually didn't occur, but even if you want to claim it did, go ahead and bring us the numbers, sir. But furthermore, that's an issue for you to handle over there in Africa, isn't it? If you feel that Northern Africa owes you something, sir, but then again, you all have colonized the hell out of it, so whatever they owed you, you took your reparations over there already, sir. And you already know that, Matt. Even when you and the alt-right guys are sitting around there, passing the hookah and reading copies of Mein Kampf and watching VHS tapes from the Playboy Channel and Spice, you all already know this. It's rather embarrassing, Matt. This isn't groping at straws. This is groping at dirt. With all that money that YouTube has helped you to get, you should be better than this. I'm insulted that you're this amateurish.
All of the descendants of these white victims entitled to reparations from all black people as well. Now, proponents of reparations never had a good answer to that question or any question. They couldn't answer anything at all, in fact, including how they were going to pay for all this. So fast forward a few months, and it turns out
we did say how we're going to pay for it the same way you're giving out all that money you're giving out to the illegals and the Ukrainians. Hell, in California, they got them paying money for illegals' health care. Oh, there's the money right there. There's the money right there. There it is. Yeah, that money right there. The money for the illegals. Yeah, go ahead and pass it on over here. Yeah, that money right there, Matt. But then again, he already knows this too, by the way. So understand, white supremacists have to lie. They have to talk in circles. They have to try to waste your time because when confronted with the facts, everything crumbles. But understand, again, these are not things he doesn't know. These are things he already knows. This is for his brain dead ADHD recessive audience because they sit around passing around lies. They know the truth also. So what they all do is just get together and pass around their lie slogans to each other. These lying, dishonest slogans so they can live in disbelief. They put their fingers in their ears, la, 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 we don't believe it. Meanwhile, reality is outside the door.
Never had a good answer to that question or any question. They couldn't answer anything at all, in fact, including how they were going to pay for all this. So fast forward a few months, and it turns out that the descendants of slaves will not be getting any money in California. The whole idea became so overwhelmingly unpopular in California that even Gavin Newsom, who never misses a chance to genuflect before the BLM altar, wasn't a fan. So after considering the proposals of the Reparation Task Force, California lawmakers recently introduced a series of 14 bills, and cash payouts to the descendants of slaves are not included in any of the bills that are supposedly related to reparations. And yet they're still calling these bills reparations anyway. Watch.
Well, right off the top, here's what the just announced reparations bills do not include: direct cash payments for descendants of the enslaved, as lawmakers behind the proposals insist reparations are about much more than just this.
Okay, first of all, Fox 40, you all couldn't have gotten your reporter more than some $1 bills. I mean, I know terrestrial television, broadcast television, and radio was struggling, but this was the best he could do for a prop. This is the best y'all got there with all that Fox money? All right.
Insist reparations are about much more than just this.
This is a defining moment.
A defining moment, says Senator Stephen Bradford, just after he and his colleagues in the Legislative Black Caucus formally introduced more than a dozen bills they say will lead to the start of reparations for California descendants of enslaved Black Americans.
If we say we value reparations and wanting to heal the harms of slavery in this country and in this state, we have to make this a priority.
It comes less than a year after the California Reparations Task Force submitted this 1,000-plus.
Boy, there's a sad bunch.
Value reparations and wanting to heal the harms of slavery in this country and in this state, we have to make this a priority.
It comes less than a year after.
There's a sad bunch on that stage. We all recognize the old dude over there on the left who had to backtrack. Reparations don't got to be cash. Every time you turn around, the folks in the so-called task force were, it don't got to be cash, except at my church. It does need to be cash at my church, but for everybody else here, all right. They're more concerned with titles and their little placards up there.
After the California Reparations Task Force submitted this 1,000-plus page recommendations report to the governor and legislature. In total, it featured 112 recommendations about how reparations could work in California, a state Bradford acknowledges was never formally a slave state, but one he says enacted policies since its founding in 1850, negatively impacting Black Californians to this day. Other bills introduced.
Okay, so you notice the Fox affiliate here. Once again, this is why we need reparations, because these folks who are papered up with generational wealth have broadcast rights of airwaves that belong to the American people to put out outright lies. To sit up here and say, well, they recognize that California wasn't a slave state. California was a de facto slave state because they recognized the slave codes of other states. So when you do that, you've become a de facto slave state. And also you had people who were pressed into labor there as well. So once again, these are actually outright lies. These people know better. They know better than this, but they say this, and then if you don't sit up here and the FCC fine them for just telling lies, well, they just go ahead and keep telling that anyway. They keep saying that anyway, but no. California did participate in slavery. California did participate in slavery. You had people who were working as slaves there. California did participate. The fact they weren't part of the Confederacy doesn't change that. They were participants in slavery, complete with people working and laboring and being uncompensated. They were participants in it. Yes, they were. And Fox 40 knows this.
Include one to fund career education financial aid for red-lined communities, another to prohibit discrimination based on natural and protective hairstyles in all competitive sports within California, and one to restrict solitary confinement in California.
Now, folks, was this on the list of priorities for Jewish people, Native Americans, Japanese people? When they got reparations, did they want to get financial aid? We already get financial aid. The problem is when you walk out into the free market system, you meet white supremacy. Prohibit discrimination based on hairstyles. Well, certainly, but that's not reparations. That goes under basic civil rights. That's not reparations. Restrict solitary confinement in California state prisons. We're not all prisoners, but certainly you want to have certain conditions for prisoners, but that's not reparations. That's a civil society. That's not reparations. So once again, these folks know what they're doing, and their job is to try to change the subject. And this is why we cannot deal with half measures.
State prisons, but not included in any of the proposals, direct cash payments.
Well, that's a little embarrassing. Hopefully no descendants of slaves went out and spent $1 million in the past couple of months thinking that they'd get reimbursed, because it turns out that's not happening. Instead,
first of all, alt-right Matt, white supremacist Walsh, if we had a few $1 million to spend, we wouldn't need anybody to reimburse us. So there's the first thing. That, by the way, you're mocking, that little mocking statement you meant, by the way, you just hit at the heart of the problem. If we had a few $1 million, then this would not be an issue. What you're really afraid of is that we would have the same privileges and advantages that you have. That's what really chaps your lips about that. If we actually had a level playing field, yeah, you're scared to death of that. Yes, because you're just average and basic. And if you actually had to compete on a level playing field, you wouldn't be able to compete, which is why you want to keep things the way they are.
They're getting rid of solitary confinement, and they are prohibiting discrimination based on hairstyles. That's what they're calling reparations. A bit of a step down, you might say. Now, as you'd expect, the most reprehensible anti-white racists in the country were deeply disturbed by this news. Semi-prominent race baiter Tariq Nasheed was especially furious. He wrote, quote, "This package does not include any cash payments to foundational Black Americans at all. It's a 111-page nothing burger dipped in nothing sauce." And that's true for the most part. And it's not often that this guy says anything true, but he does in this case. Still, buried in these 14 proposals are a few very bad and unconstitutional ideas. So Tariq Nasheed is getting some bad ideas out of this. He loves bad ideas. He's going to get a few, so hopefully it makes him feel a little bit better.
So Matt, obviously very angry about our program last week, and he decides to lash out. So he's chosen Tariq as a target because he couldn't get where he wanted to be. And so he goes off of a tweet that was put up really weeks ago. This is the best he could do, was go digging through the crates for something that was said weeks ago. But then again, if you're in his situation, you got to do that. Because in reality, like I said, all this really came out weeks ago. As you saw, the tweet was from January 31st. It's February 17th. This was weeks ago. But he doesn't have anything else. So he couldn't refute what we said last week. So he's like, okay, let's give him the business. And in reality, you're just making the damn thing worse. You're making it worse. You're not even keeping it the same, dude. You're making it worse. If you had something, you would have used something. If you all agree that this was a weak, desperate attempt that fell flat on its face, give me the thumbs up emoji in the chat. No, give me the black fist emoji in the chat room. Give me the black fist emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's 4,000 people in here live in just the first 25 minutes. And we are cooking with napalm. But if you agree that this was just desperate and pathetic on their part here, give me the black fist emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button. Folks not liking the program here. I think I got a bunch of Matt Walsh supporters, I suppose. They want me to shut it down early because they don't want to support it. I understand. Maybe it's bothering you there. But by the way, if you agree, hit the likes button for me and give me the black fist emoji. Matt is very upset. Matt is very angry. Matt is very, very vindictive here. And what he really wishes, Matt really wishes he had some power. That's what Matt really wishes. He really wishes that he actually had some power and influence in this area. He hasn't been following the issue. He doesn't know anything about it here. He doesn't want to accept that we already said what was going to occur. And now what he's really trying to do is flip this loss into a win is what he's trying to do. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I meant it the way I said it. We'll get to that here in just a moment.
Not include any cash payments to foundational Black Americans at all. Very bad and unconstitutional ideas. So Tariq Nasheed is getting some bad ideas out of this. He loves bad ideas. He's going to get a few, so hopefully it makes him feel a little bit better. They'll be re-implementing affirmative action, other race-based initiatives as well. And one California assemblyman who supports these bills, Corey Jackson, actually wants to amend California's constitution to permit laws that would, quote, increase the life expectancy of, improve educational outcomes for, or lift out of poverty specific groups based on race, color, ethnicity, national origin, or marginalized genders, sexes, or sexual orientations. In other words, he wants to be able to pass laws that would only help non-whites.
Now, the categories he named there specifically would help white people, by the way. The categories he named would help white folk too. Sexual orientation, disadvantage, that doesn't exclude white people. And Matt knows that, by the way. So once again, he's got to resort to pathetic lying. He's sitting here just reduced to lying pathetically. He's naming groups that include white folk and then saying that's the issue. No, the problem is it doesn't give preferential treatment to whites is what you're upset about, Matt. Because the situation right now, the reason why you need these remedies is because, hey, we've been sabotaged and we have been maneuvered into these positions here that are detrimental. If we weren't, it wouldn't even be an issue. You can't deny that there's a need for it. Now, there's the other thing. He never makes an argument why it's not needed, that everything's fine. He never makes that argument. Once again, just like he doesn't say anything about Jews and reparations, he never makes an argument that what's being said is false. He never says black folk are doing fine. White folks are doing just as bad as black people. He never says that. Just understand that. He never says it. So he's just going off the deep end. I mean, he's just going full Richard Spencer at this point.
Which currently would violate both the California and U.S. constitutions, of course. And that's what they're focusing on in California, a state that has no shortage of real problems, but they desperately want to turn the state into Rwanda and accelerate its decline even further.
Now, that one right there, just like last week, they want to turn it into Rwanda, so he's just going full David Duke. And remember, YouTube has given him almost 3 million subscribers. YouTube has boosted his channel, promoted his channel, made sure that they get promoted, marketed, and front page and everything else to the tune of almost 3 million subscribers. This is how dedicated to that they are. No, this isn't dog whistling. This is a bullhorn. This is not a dog whistle. This is a bullhorn. Why didn't he say until it becomes like Greece? Why didn't he say until it becomes like France? Why didn't he say until it becomes like Russia? Why didn't he say until it becomes like Ukraine? Why didn't he say that? Where is the comparison between anything in California and Rwanda? Why didn't he say those places? You know, places in Europe that have been experiencing economic collapse. Why didn't he name those if it's an economic collapse issue? Why didn't he make a one-to-one comparison? That would be simple. And yet he brings up Rwanda. So no, that's not a dog whistle. That's a white supremacist bullhorn. When I said that he's going full Richard Spencer, I meant exactly what I said. He's going full Richard Spencer. And YouTube, remember, I will keep beating this home. YouTube, hell, he just went from 2.83 million subscribers to 2.84. YouTube has been boosting this to make sure these guys stay papered up, promoted up. These guys get given millions of dollars, millions, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands. They've got war chests of millions of dollars. YouTube and Google and Twitter and the rest of them made sure these individuals here, if you want to know why we say reparations, because these major corporations, these so-called Silicon Valley corporations, have become farms to cultivate these right-wing white supremacists on the internet and make sure that they got the money so that they cannot be economically punished. At the same time, hiding our channels and attempting and failing to deprive us. The only difference is we have to get support from the streets. And we do. So I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Venmo. Thank you very much for your support here. We appreciate that as always, because YouTube is making sure these guys get millions of subscribers. They make sure about that. They put them on Joe Rogan, Tim Pool. They make sure these folks get millions. That ain't no joke. No wonder their message can remain consistent even if it's not as influential as they like. You got a big megaphone when YouTube is giving you millions of subscribers. That's a big megaphone to have. That's a huge megaphone to have so that he can talk about not the illegals coming from Mexico. He ain't saying nothing about that. Do you notice that so far he ain't said a word about that? He didn't say anything about them last week. He's not saying anything about them this week. At the end of the day, the reason we need reparations is because this, Matt Walsh, is our proof of institutionalized racism and white supremacy. That no matter what's happening, they always pivot and say, by the way, before we disperse today's meeting, have we made sure the Negroes are kept down? Did we make sure the Negroes are oppressed? Did we make sure that they're properly helpless? Because you see, if all this is useless if we haven't made sure that the Negroes are properly disadvantaged and handicapped. So before we dismiss today's meeting, let's check on them and make sure that we've left them properly handicapped. Otherwise, this is a futile effort on our part. Whatever else we're discussing, we can talk about taxes, education, property taxes, land reform, regulatory reform. But if you're not making sure that you're punishing black people and keeping them oppressed, well, then all this is worthless. So check on them right quick. And then all of a sudden, as I pointed out last week, the conversation takes this weird, bizarre turn and starts focusing on us. It just takes this real weird swerve. And then out of nowhere, with all these other things going on, all of a sudden you set us aside for particular scrutiny and punishment and penalization. You set us aside for that. That's the reason we need reparations, because we've been set aside for particular punishment. And that's all we're saying. Now we recognize that for what it is, and we're speaking on that. Now, I want to explain to you here what the problem is. And there's actually a logical fallacy. I'm going to play a little bit more here. But there's Matt, of course, being a doofus as he is. There's more logical fallacy coming here. So I want you to hear this part.
At the same time, it's very clear that they're not going to get everything they want. They are failing. These grifters are. The reparations grift is collapsing. And that's because the reparations grift and the whole race hustle scam as a whole depends on instilling and maintaining a deep sense of guilt in white people. But you just cannot keep an entire race of people crippled by undeserved guilt over ancient history forever. It doesn't work psychologically. Eventually that guilt turns into exhaustion, and the exhaustion turns into resentment, or at best, indifference. And that's when the scam blows back on the scam artists. We're seeing that happen more and more, actually. For example, I recently tweeted a statement that's completely uncontroversial to anybody with a baseline understanding.
All right, let's go ahead and deal with this nonsense he just said. Whenever these guys are losing, and they're always losing, they start making these veiled threats.
Grift and the whole going to get everything they want. They are failing. These grifters are. The reparations grift is collapsing.
Okay, we're going to come back to that one in just a moment here. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. Let's go ahead to this next part.
And that's because the reparations grift and the whole race hustle scam as a whole depends on instilling and maintaining a deep sense of guilt in white people. But
okay, first of all, who among us thinks that white society feels guilty about anything?
Lie.
So first of all, he's talking to his audience, spreading a lie here because they want to believe they want to believe something that's false as opposed to the real rationale, because the real rationale is just too devastating and crushing for them to accept. How many of you here think that white society feels guilty over how many of you think that we have succeeded in making white society over the last, 170 years feel guilty over anything? How many of us are sitting here talking about, boy, they sure does feel guilty. We gonna make them feel guilty. How many of us think that we've made 1 inch of progress on the make them feel guilty front? We really just need to make them feel guilty. If we keep this up, they will feel guilty. So once again, like I say, there's a lie right there for him to sit up here and say something like that. And he knows better than that. But nobody's sitting here thinking that the aim or the strategy is, well, if we can just make them feel guilty, then that'll do some things right there. We can just make them feel guilty about something. If we just show them their brutality, then they will realize that this is wrong. Nobody is sitting here relying on guilt or even shame as a strategy. Our strategy for reparations, when we demanded that, when you ended up in California, when you ended up in Virginia, when you ended up in all these other states, we didn't get there by appealing to guilt. We got there by speaking about ourselves and our experience and our history and our demands. Guilt is not a requirement, and we wouldn't be anywhere today if we had to rely on the guilt of absolute savages like white supremacists like Matt Walsh. We're not depending on Matt Walsh to feel guilty about anything. They are beneath human consciousness.
Grift and the whole race hustle scam as a whole depends on instilling and maintaining a deep sense of guilt in white people. But you just cannot keep an entire race of people crippled by undeserved guilt over ancient history.
So he's telling us that 1970 is ancient history. 1990 is ancient history. 2014 is ancient history. Hell, to even say that 1868 is ancient history. Can you imagine anybody's, there have been many of you who've been to school, you've been in academia. Could you imagine going and telling people that the United States of America is an ancient nation?
What?
Could you imagine standing with scholars from Spain, France, London, China, Japan, and telling them that North America, the United States, is an ancient nation? Could you imagine that? Do you realize how badly you would be at best you'd be laughed out of the room, and at worst they would throw rotten produce at you? This is the guy talking. This is the guy trying to lecture you about where you should stand on this, and he's literally telling you that if you're a college student and you go overseas and tell them, well, the United States is an ancient nation. How old is the United States? 250 years? And slavery, why, that was ancient. How long ago was that? 160 years? Is that, are you serious? Are you trolling us? That's the first thing they're at. Are you trolling us? You must be trolling us right now. You must be. So could you imagine understand something? This is I'm white and I say so, people. This is I'm white and I say so. It's ancient if I say so. 100 years is ancient if I say so. If I say it's ancient, then it's ancient. I say it is. No, he's not afraid to look like a complete idiot because YouTube has given him almost 3 million subscribers to financially support him. There's a reason why you see this same vein of complete dunderheaded idiocy rolling between the Matt Walshes, the Tim Pools, the Donald Trumps, the Alex Joneses. None of them are smart. None of them are brilliant. All of them are idiots. I'm not name calling. They are all mathematical dunderheads. Across the board. That's why you see this same vein of idiocy running through all of them. They're all equally dumb. If you put them in a room and started having anybody with half of a vein of academic credentials or even a slight understanding of history here, these guys would be like, man, what the hell are you talking about? There's nothing in North America there's nothing in the United States that is ancient. The Washington Monument is not ancient. The Capitol building is not ancient. The White House is not ancient. None of these things are ancient. Nothing. There is nothing that was built by the colonists on North America that can be classified as ancient. Not a single thing. And yet he's sitting here with a straight face on YouTube saying that. I don't have to disqualify him. His own words do that. This is the idiotic brain trust that would sit up here and dare to tell you that he's going to frame the discussion and the narrative about reparations. This would be a joke if it was funny.
Forever. It doesn't work psychologically. Eventually that guilt turns into exhaustion, and the exhaustion turns into resentment, or at best, indifference.
We're already dealing with indifference. That's been the problem. There's never been any guilt. So white supremacist liars like Matt, that's what they have to do here. The problem is we've been met with indifference the whole time. The Constitution of the United States, indifference. Slavery, indifference. 13th, 14th Amendments, indifference. Dred Scott, indifference. Jim Crow, indifference. Segregation, I thought this was all after the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments. Indifference. All we've been met with is indifference. So do you understand? That's supposed to be a veiled threat. You all understand? That's supposed to be a veiled threat from Matt White Supremacist Walsh, is that, well, if you all sit up here and demand we stop, you'll be met with indifference. We're already being met with indifference. That's why we're rising up, is to show that we're not going to accept brutality compounded by indifference to it. There will be a cost. So he's trying to threaten you what they're already doing. If y'all don't accept how we treating you, we will be indifferent. You're already indifferent. You're already indifferent. And he's trying to threaten us with that. I'll be indifferent. Take a look at him. Does he look like he gives a damn about anything? He didn't even give a damn about the shirt he's wearing. What? With that Wolfman Jack beard on his face here, straight from the wilderness here, he's indifferent about that. You think I expect him to sit up here and give special treatment for us? What the hell? No, we're already dealing with indifference. That's what we've been dealing with the entire time. Now you think you're going to threaten us with it? Dude, the meth in them cups must... I didn't know they're selling meth coffee now. It must be good.
And that's when the scam blows back on the scam artists. We're seeing that happen more and more, actually. For example, I recently tweeted a statement.
So he says you see it blow back on the scam artists. All right, let's go ahead and address that real quick here. Because Matt thinks that I'm white and I say so. So what he thinks is that if I say that it's a scam, then it becomes one. And if I say the scam is backfired, then it's backfired. So Matt is completely delusional and wallowing in I'm white and I say so. If I tell you all it's a done deal, it's a done deal. And obviously reality doesn't work that way. I want you all to understand what he's really upset about. Let me explain to you why Matt Walsh is really afraid. Matt, white supremacist Walsh, is really afraid because power doesn't come from saying yes. Power comes from saying no. The reason why they're sitting up there trying to hand out these air burger bills is because we said no. They didn't get our support. We're not sitting up there saying, oh, this is good, because if we were, then these bills would just fly through the California legislature. The reason why they're sitting up there trying to trial balloon these things is because they saw we are not gonna move. We've been saying from the beginning that we're monitoring everything to see if there's even a slight variation, and we will not support anything that changes or alters what is being demanded. Now, let me tell you why this is a problem for folks like Matt Walsh, because he's like, I'll be damned, the Negroes are getting too sophisticated now. They're getting too sophisticated. You see, when right-wingers like Walsh, when the Republicans in Congress say that they're not going to support the Republican leadership, when the Republican leadership brings the Republican Party a bill and the Republican congressmen and senators don't like the bill, Matt Walsh doesn't say the bill was a failure. He says, that's right, the Republicans in the Senate, they stood firm and they didn't allow themselves to get drug along for a phony, inconsequential, ineffective legislation. Well, that's what they say with the Republicans. With Matt Gaetz, remember, they got the House Speaker kicked out. Kevin McCarthy, Matt Gaetz, and a bunch of the other Republicans, why they sat up and said, yeah, we're going to he's the leader of the House, and he's a Republican, he's the leader of the House, we're Republicans, and we're going to get him out of there. Because he ain't running the ball the way we told him to run the ball. Damn the legislation, damn a veto, you're out of here. We're saying no. Well, you could get this bill through. We're saying no. Well, y'all ain't getting nothing done. Yes, we are. We're preventing you from bringing us half measures and a bad bill. We're saying no. Now, that's what we've been saying. We've been saying no. If you're not going to bring through the legislation that we told you, we're not going to support it. Now, when the Republicans do that, Matt Walsh calls that a win. When the Republicans do that, Matt Walsh labeled that a win. And yet, when we just did the same thing, Matt Walsh is then telling you, oh, see, it's backfired on them. Oh, it's backfired on them there. Well, that's interesting because you just said that was a win when the Republicans do it. And that's exactly what we are doing. We're exercising power. We've been doing that. Now he's upset because we're the ones calling the tune. We're not going to just let you call something reparations. They had already signaled this and telegraphed this weeks ago. That after all that talk and plebisciting and babbling and babooning. We sat up here and said, yeah, we're not going for this. They had lost their support then. They lost their support then. That's the issue. Matt was looking around here and saying, I'll be damned. I'll be damned. How is it that they came up with their own agenda, and if they're not going to sit up here and let you bring them some compromise legislation that it has the name reparations in it, and they're not supporting it? The problem isn't that Gavin Newsom don't support it. The problem is we at the grassroots don't support it. That's the problem. That's what's steaming Matt. That's what's burning him. He recognizes the grassroots isn't supporting it. That's why he's weeks late about it. He can't sit up here. Well, he was hoping that we would be out here saying, well, it ain't everything that we wanted. Okay, it actually ain't anything that we wanted, but it is some good stuff in here when you think about it. So what we need to do, we need to support this because, and then he found out, oh, hell no, we're not taking any of it. We're not taking any of it. We're not going for any of it. That's what he was waiting on. He was waiting to see us sit up here and start saying, oh, it ain't what we wanted, but if we can get something here, we need to go with that right there. The Reverend told us down there at the church out. The Reverend told us. We told them, yeah, get the Reverend and the rest of them on up out of here. We ain't following none of this. We're not going for any of it. That's what he's trying to distract people from understanding. We didn't support any of this. We've been saying the whole time, education ain't gonna get it. Matt Walsh knows that. He's like, I'll be damned. Y'all are staying on code. Y'all are staying focused. As soon as you heard that they were backing off the cash payments, you all abandoned them. You all abandoned them. No, sir, this is not a deconstruction. This is a reconstruction. We told them what the deal was. We told them what the terms were. We told them what the demands were. And then we waited because we understood the weak individuals we're dealing with. The folks on that reparations task force, we've been talking about them since day one. Matt Walsh didn't do that. He was too busy, knitting Nazi flags. But Matt wasn't talking about that. We've been talking about the folks buck dancing and cooning and half-stepping and backtracking on the reparations task force in California. We've been talking about them the whole time. We've been passing them out the whole time. We've been naming them the whole time. We've done programs about them the whole time. We didn't just jump up in 2024 and say there's a problem. We've been saying there's a problem the whole time. So Matt doesn't have the ability to say, well, they thought things were on the right track. He can't say that. If he could have found tweets that said that, or broadcasts that said that, or posts that said that, he'd be showing it. But he can't do it. So in reality, we walked away from it last year, and now he's showing up here saying, oh, the folks that you all walked away from, they're still trying to get something through there, and they have none of your support. None of it. What do you know? Dude, you're not going to spin this into a win for the alt-right. You're not going to spin it into that. And I'm going to keep boots on your necks to remind people, YouTube gives millions of dollars to the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh, all these Wire Walsh white supremacist media outlets online. Google and the rest of them make sure that these guys stay papered up to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars. They make sure of that. That's the reason why reparations in California is important, because you get the ball rolling there, and all these Silicon Valley corporations that have been enabling white supremacist media outlets and white supremacist influencers and personalities, you can park the bill right there at their desk and let them know, by the way, you owe too, on account of the fact that you've been signal boosting these people and burying us. Yeah, you owe too. You sure do. Now, Matt is feeling the heat, and Matt is worried and afraid because Matt, I can guarantee you, he heard our program last week and he understands, I'll be damned, that one hit right on the money. It's not going to be as easy to keep this thing going. And the other thing that scares him to death, y'all, Matt Walsh is a white supremacist, but he's not a complete fool. He's mostly a fool. He's not a complete fool. He knows full damn well we're not going anywhere. He knows we're not going to go away. He knows we're going to be right here. He knows we've been stomping for it before this happened, and we're going to continue to do so. He knows that. He isn't a dummy completely. He knows we ain't going away. He knows we are going to stay at it and keep at it. And he also knows that we're serious about no reparations, no vote. Now, these are all things that frighten him. Us having our own agenda, and we're not looking to anybody else, and we weren't looking to Gavin Newsom as white daddy and said, what do you got to do to make you feel comfortable? We said what we said, and we stuck by it. We standing all the way on the business, all the way on it. So, of course, he's worried because he's used to these only being the tactics that he sees white politicians use and white power brokers use and white political movements use. They're not used to seeing us get up and walk away from the table. That's the problem that Matt's having. Matt is throwing conniptions and having a fit because you saw us get up and walk away from the table. We got up and walked away from the table last year and said, this ain't reparations, and until reparations is on the table, we ain't got nothing to talk about. We got up and walked away from the table. Matt's mad as hell because when you saw them jump and say, well, here, we'll offer y'all some consolation prizes, we said, damn you and your consolation prizes, that ain't reparations. Yeah, we are shrewd negotiators. We got up and we walked away from the table. Because that's what you do when there is nothing being offered on the table. You get up and you leave. And if you do get around to putting something on the table later, we can come back to that. But until then, we're good. Until then, we're good. Completely good. And whatever gonna happen. But don't look for us to be your do boys and sit up here and keep you in the seat of power while we're out here doing all the work and then there's nothing coming from it. So these alt-right white supremacists very, very angry. They're trying to flip this loss into a win because the whole thing was we were supposed to be sitting at the table just begging to get something, and then if nothing was offered, oh, see, you all were waiting around and didn't get anything for it there. And we're saying, dude, we got up and walked away last year. No, sir, we ain't waiting on nothing. I don't blame you for being mad, Matt. I don't blame you for being mad. And before it's over, you're going to have a lot more to be angry about. I want you all to keep your eyes and your ears open here. We got almost 5,000 people in here tonight. I definitely want you all to keep your eyes and ears open next weekend. I want everyone to join me here next weekend on the Black Channel. We have some business to take care of, something in particular here next weekend. I want you to join us. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. Before we do, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Venmo. Big shout out here to Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support here, Mr. Anderson, Mark B., and everyone else who has contributed support to tonight's program. Thank you very much for your support. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we're going to analyze those bills that they're calling reparations that we rejected, these non-measures, this bait and switch that they call reparations, that they're trying to call reparations now, that we already rejected. The bills aren't going to go anywhere because we already rejected them. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that little con job that they tried to pull and show you exactly why we dismissed it. This is the Black Channel.
Hello, my name is Steve Burgess, and I'm the author of this book, Guidelines for the Successful Student, a closer look at parenting your school-aged child. In this book, I've explained the role of the parent and the student in addition to what accommodations, procedures, rewards and consequences and expectations that need to be in place to ensure student success from primary to high school. This book is available on Amazon.com. For more information, please visit my link tree at Easy One-on-One, and to access my latest podcast, A Teaching Moment with Mr. B. Thank you all for listening.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge. Corrupt FBI agents with evil intentions. Dangerous black collaborators dedicated to treason. Occam Jeffers must defeat them all and somehow survive. One misstep and he's a dead man. Join Occam Jeffers as he looks the devil in his blue eyes and tells him, Black First. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart, Spirit of 1811 Publishing presents God Love Us, on sale at Amazon. Pre-order and save today. Visit spiritOf1811publishing.com and show your love.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Natural Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all this evening. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at channel ABC 7. So you can see here a couple of weeks ago, they did a story about this. They did a story about, this historic reparations. I'm talking about they're doing their best to try to do something for Black History Month, which is really pathetic in and of itself right there, but you know how it's going to be. I want to show you what it was that they did here. Once again, this is fair use. Once again, this is fair use now. I want to show you what they were showing there. Exclusive. First California reparations bills announced by Black Caucus making history. Mr. Julian Glover, boy, you must be trying to hold on to your job for dear life, brother. If you talking like this, you're holding on to your job for dear life. Here's what they said in the story here, and there's a couple of things I want to point out.
February is Black History Month, and all month long, we're telling stories about issues and people making a difference in the community. The California Legislative Black Caucus is making history.
Who edged this brother up? ABC Channel 7. Who is the official barber of ABC Channel 7? I'm not dissing nobody. I'm not mocking nobody. I'm simply asking a question. Who edged this brother up? Who is responsible for this? Was he blind? Did he only have 2 fingers? Was he having an epileptic seizure that day? Was his barber having an epileptic seizure that day when he did this? Was the barber using an egg spatula and not a pair of clippers? So I'm not dissing nobody. I'm just saying, by the way, and they put him on television. That's my thing, folks. They put him on a flagship television station. What? Looking like this. And then you wonder why Matt Walsh is emboldened. This is the guy telling you we making history. So I'm just saying, by the way, before we even get started, so I can let the rest of it play, who in the world was responsible for edging him up? Because this ain't no edge. This is just a curbside.
To start off the month by announcing a package of reparations bills.
Yeah, this makes the state the first in the country to seriously consider reparations for black people. And ABC 7 News anchor and race and special justice reporter Julian Glover here with the new details.
A lot of folks have been saying this has been a long time coming for sure. This package of more than a dozen bills.
I mean, how you gonna be bucking your eyes and you're just, he is grateful for his little... You thought Stephen A. Smith was back. He must be from the Stephen A. Smith family reunion. Oh, this must be a cousin, a close cousin of Stephen A. Smith. The more angles you see, the worse it gets. The more angles you see, the worse it gets. Brother, I'm just asking. Did they do your edges with Conan the Barbarian's sword? How did you end up here? How did you end up here? I'm not blaming you for looking crazy. If my head looked like that, I'd be looking insane too. But folks, I'm talking about the haircut, the eyes, the necktie. Oh, you know full well what his get down is. You know his get down before I even need to say anything. This story writes itself.
On ABC 7 News anchor and race and special justice reporter Julian Glover here with the new details.
A lot of folks have been saying this has been a long time coming for sure. This package of more than a dozen bills aims to make good on some of the more than 100 proposals issued by California's first in the nation state reparations task force in the summer of last year. But even here in California, in a state where Democrats hold a supermajority, the political calculus involved in passing these bills is far from simple.
Reparations is not charity. It's not a handout. It's not a gift. It is what was promised. It's what is owed, and it's something that is 160 years overdue to African Americans who built this country.
The state of California is now one step closer to making good on that promise to repair black Californians harmed by the legacy of slavery and anti-black policies in the century and a half since emancipation. The Legislative Black Caucus is announcing a package of more than a dozen reparations bills, the first step in making black Californians whole.
I mean, I'm hoping that we'll all be successful. I'm realistic enough to know that there's going to be some setbacks.
This whole bill thing is a setback. And once again, why does he look like a black Sonic the Hedgehog? Damn. Who did this? Come on, y'all. He looks like Negro Sonic the Hedgehog. Who was Sonic and his little red buddy or whatever. Who did this? Who did this? This is who they send out here for us for a representative? No, damn a hairline. Please. No. This is not a hairline. This is a drum line. No, I'm serious. You can sit here and play the damn tom-toms on top of it. Who did this, brother? Who did this? He looks like one of them cartoon characters from the Red Bull commercials. What's going on here? Jason, don't sit here and mock him all day. I'm okay, but... Oh, and is he wearing tennis shoes? All right. Did he come there wearing tennis shoes? Did they try to put the banner down there at the bottom to hide the tennis shoes? Did he come there wearing tennis shoes? Tell me you didn't do that.
Realistic enough to know that there's going to be some setbacks.
State Senator Stephen Bradford of Southern
Yeah, he did. He's wearing tennis shoes. So this is who the ABC Channel 7 sends to represent us. This is why we got to do this for ourselves, because this is who the white media sends to represent us. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to diss the brother. I'm just saying, dude, come on now. You're talking bad. It's looking wrong. Looks like somebody grabbed his whole head and just pulled it back like a sack of groceries. All right, let me.
California is one of the legislative Black Caucus members behind the reparations package. Bradford is one of two legislative leaders who served on California's First in the Nation Reparations Task Force. Assemblymember Reginald Jones Sawyer is the other.
We have this momentous task of trying to get legislation and budget recommendations done. We're looking at probably a 5-year strategy on how to do this.
The bills come from the more than 100 recommendations released by the task force last summer at the conclusion of 2 years of work. The package includes, in part, bills to expand access to career education and...
All right. I know y'all want to see more of old dude. I understand that, but it's... I'm trying to spare you. It's, brother, just...
Do you think that there is...
Brother. It's like the barber put a bowl on top of the front of his head before he started cutting. That's what it's like right there. Brother, just let it go. Just let it go. All right. I want to skip down in here. I want to give you all the bullet points that they came up with here. I want to get to the bullet points they came up with here. So these are other bills announced as part of the reparations package includes... expanding access to career technical education. That's going to go to all the illegals from Mexico. Financial aid for redlined communities. Excuse me. All you're going to do is give that to the illegals. Extending the Crown Act to prohibit discrimination based on natural and protective hairstyles in all competitive sports. The Crown Act prohibiting discrimination of hairstyles. Excuse me. As far as I can see, we need a little bit more discrimination of hairstyles from where I stand. What? Y'all talking about allowing hairstyles. Actually, California, now that I've seen a little bit more, we probably need to clamp down on these hairstyles a little bit more from what I'm seeing, because y'all just letting any old body walk up in here with any old hair right now. This Negro already got the Crown Act. What does he needs more? He needs more? Come on now, it looks like his hairline is sunsetting. Damn! I'm not beating up on him. I'm just saying the Crown Act, California's hairline game is already solid from what the protection of the hairline. That game is already solid as far as I can see. It looks solid as hell to me. Somebody in the chat said we might need an anti-Crown Act. Yeah, we might need a bag act here in just a minute. We might need a bag act. Kerry Locks, you got your work cut out for you in California, nigga. You better bring a whole bag full of clippers based on what I'm seeing. You better bring a bag full of clippers. I can see your damn blades getting caught up. Talking about a Crown Act. You already have it. Stop it. Prohibiting involuntary servitude for incarcerated people. Okay, there goes that 13th Amendment. Eliminating the practice of banning books in prison without oversight and review. What the hell? funding community-driven solutions to decrease community violence at the family, school, and neighborhood levels. Restrict solitary confinement in detention facilities. Once again, back to prison. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that needs to be taken care of regardless, and that ain't reparations. That's not reparations. Promote access to healthy foods through Medi-Cal. What? How the hell is that folks, was this what the Jews were offered? Were the Jews offered this? Were the Japanese offered this? All these other groups that got reparations, when did they get offered this list of things? You take a look at what the hell they're naming on here. I'm serious. How many other groups, this is what they got offered and told, here's your reparations. Yeah, we're sorry we gassed your granddaddy and your grandmama in the concentration camps, but we're going to promote healthy access, full access to healthy foods. That's your reparations. See, this is how they talk to us, like we crazy. They're giving the illegal aliens more than this, and ain't no damn debate. Promote access to healthy foods through Medi-Cal and requiring advance notification before closing grocery stores in at-risk communities. Eliminating barriers to occupational licenses for people with criminal records, especially those who are descendants of the enslaved. Now, that one I can go with, but only if you're talking about those marijuana licenses. Go and collect them from all those Armenians who illegally gamed the website and gamed the system to be able to get those licenses, and hand them out to the people that you locked up, like Freeway Rick. You sat up here and locked up the black folk who were the pioneers who created that marijuana market in California. You need to now go back and make sure if they were first in line to go to prison, they need to be first in line to be given legal licenses, regardless of their criminal records. And yes, my name is Jason Black, and I endorse that message. I sure do. No, I do not promote drugs. No, I do not promote marijuana use. If I could wave a magic wand and make it illegal tomorrow, I would do so. But I ain't got no magic wand. So therefore, if it's gonna exist, we gonna run it. If it is going to exist, and if it is gonna be there, then we will be the ones running it, on account of the fact we the ones built it. Them the rules I'm playing by. If it will exist, I'll be damned if you're going to turn black labor into white wealth. So no, you're not going to sit up here and play this damn game and talk about going through the California legislature. You know who the people were that you locked up all over the place. You're supposed to put them first in line to get those licenses. That's reparations. That is restorative justice. Because we've been saying that the whole time. Because they weren't the ones responsible for bringing the drugs in the first place. And everybody knows that. They weren't the ones doing that in the first place. Y'all still have yet to arrest the people who were bringing it in. These folk wasn't flying no planes. Weren't piloting any boats. And yet there they are. This doesn't even qualify as a phony reparations package. The one thing that could be reparations or reparational, and you done sat up here and diluted that and dumbed that down to the point that it doesn't matter. No. We need to say it exactly like it is. The folk you locked up, yeah, they need to be first in line. No. We're revoking all those marijuana licenses there. The folks who got locked up, those are the ones who gonna get it. Everybody who we call them kingpins, okay, they gonna be the first ones to get that. That's reparations right there. That's reparations. The reason why we walked away from the table was because we saw this was bull job. They sat up here and sent out their black preacher pimps. They sat up here and brought the black pimp preachers and the pimp politicians and told them, see if you can calm them people down. Well, you know, this ain't feasible. We can't get this here. It's damn well feasible for non-citizens. How is it feasible for non-citizens and not for the rest of us? In the chat room, let me deal with that right quick there. Expunge their records on top of the licenses. Well, you know what? That's a nice add-on, I suppose. But let me tell you something. These white folk out here, they getting what they, damn a criminal record, damn a felony. Shout out Mark Wahlberg. Shout out Mark Wahlberg. Shout out Tim Allen. A felony record never prevented white folk from doing anything they wanted to do. A felony record never prevented that. So I get your point, but I just want to clarify that one thing right quick. By the way, for these folks, a criminal record has never been an impediment to anything they wanted to do. They've never had to go expunge anything. They can get it popping just like it is. And ain't nobody gonna say nothing about it. Nobody's gonna say a word. You just get to get down how you get down. I can sit here and name Hollywood folk all over the place. Criminal records, y'all. Robert Downey Jr. Nobody, a felony never prevented them from doing anything. Never prevented them from doing nothing. And what I'm saying is, yeah, we want that kind of magic right there. We want that one. We want that one right there. If a felony isn't an impediment for you, it ain't gonna be one for us. And you're not going to make up a situation where it becomes one. Reparations is turning that on its ear. Reparations is turning that on its ear and trying to pretend as if we don't see that. No, that's not what we're going for here. We walked away from the table because we weren't going to be a part of a phony ass package. We walked away months ago and now they tried to limp back because it's an election year. We see you. We can't help but see them hairlines. We see you. We see you. We know y'all waited until 2024. What you think you're going to do is sit up here and bandy around some phony ass legislation and call it reparations and say, see, vote Democrat. We trying to do something here. We doing something. This shows you just how much disdain and contempt that the Democrat Party in general and the black politicians in specific have for us, that you would sit up here and grab a bunch of crap that doesn't have anything to do with reparations, call it reparations, and then seriously come back to us and you grab this guy. Of all the people you could have grabbed, you couldn't even find somebody with a credible hairline. You grab this guy to tell us, oh, this is historic. Let me run this back so you can hear him again. If you're gonna have a spokesperson, people at least get a competent one.
The month by announcing a package of reparations bills.
Yeah, this makes
Black Caucus is making history to start off the month by announcing a package of reparations bills.
Yeah, this makes the state the first in the country to seriously consider reparations for black people. And ABC 7 News anchor and race and special justice reporter Julian Glover here with the new details.
A lot of folks have been saying this has been a long time coming for sure. This package of more than a dozen bills aims to make good on some of the more than 100 proposals issued by California's.
Yeah. And then you wonder why we're not supporting. You wonder why we're not supporting. This was the best you could do. This was the only thing you had. And then you thought we were going to be dumb enough to come out and say that. So I don't blame Matt Walsh for sitting up here trying to act as if he's doing a victory lap, buddy. It wasn't no damn victory lap. You're the only one in the stadium because we left last year. We left last year. We ain't going for it. We left last year and ain't been back. That's why you all are trying to desperately spin this as well. There's something else on the table. There's not a damn thing on the table, and we're not even in the room anymore. So there's no reason for you to even pretend like there's something to discuss. We left last year. And until there is a serious bill in front of us, don't expect us to show up, vote, or anything else. That doesn't mean we're not going to be doing something. We're just not going to be showing up for that. We're just not going to show up for that. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. And the number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. You are welcome to join us. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, PayPal or Venmo. Thank you very much for your support, everyone. Thank you very much here, because we're up against folks who got millions of dollars coming in. And they are mad because we got up and walked away from the table and said, this is not reparations. We're gone. So they waited until 2024 and they think they're going to help Biden pick up a few straggler votes and say, oh, well, reparations. See, we is in the middle of debating this in the legislature right now. We're talking about it right this moment. Y'all need to go along with me. See, this is the problem right here. Every time somebody say we gonna do something, y'all little troublemaking Negroes over there just don't want to see, you don't want to support this. I was talking to Brother Gary Chambers down there. Just understand, he gonna be with us here. We know what's going on. They understand when they're losing it. They understand it, and I want you to understand. Buddy, we're winning this because we got up and walked away from the table. We said no. We didn't say yes. We said no. And when this little pathetic stunt fails, which it will, then they're going to have to come back with something substantive or nothing at all. But the bottom line is we are not going to show up simply because you came and asked us to show up anymore. If you're not presenting what we told you to present, then it ain't going to happen. We're going to get over here to the telephone lines. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Let me get caller from area code 516. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brother Jason, it's Adam calling from Queens, New York.
Adam from Queens, what's on your mind?
So it's crazy because I was talking about this a month ago, and I was trying to explain people why reparations is needed. And like, you can go through so many about who got what, the Japanese. Listen, slave owners got reparations. Cut the check, period. After that, I've heard slave owners got reparations. That's all I needed to learn. That's all I needed to hear. Cut the check. Be one, brother.
Be one, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let me get caller from area code 206. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good evening. This is Agnes calling from Seattle, Washington.
Agnes from Seattle. What's on your mind?
Hi. Good evening. This little stunt by the California Reparations Committee, it's nothing but Kunapalooza, okay? Just, scattered and smothered in Sambo sauce. It was last year at this time, Amos Brown, that was that old guy up there. They found out that Wells Fargo and him said no to $5 million. So they got showed up. They've been butthurt ever since. this election year, and they're well aware that a lot of those folks in the California Legislative Assembly, they're not going to be back, because you can't sit up there and tell folks and string folks along, especially the ones who have invoices and who can go back and backtrack not even that long ago and just say, hey, you guys, it's over. It's done with. We know you're not coming to us with anything substantial. Game's over. We're moving on to the next thing. And then when you get these guys like Matt Walsh, those pieces of trash like that, trying to add insult to injury, it's like, what's your point, losers? You're not even on the same wavelength, on the same page. This is past tense. You got something else new? No, they don't. And same thing with that task force. They don't have anything to offer, and it's nothing doing. It's a wash, in my opinion.
Well, the important thing is not settling
right
for
game.
something. That's the real thing, is that this idea that you bring us in, we have a substantive discussion. We clearly spell out what it is, to the extent that even your local TV stations have to say, yeah, this is what they want, cash payments. And then you turn around and discuss everything except that. What you're doing is daring us to get up and walk away from the table. And that's exactly what we did. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 412. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Robert calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Matt Walsh, whatever his name is, the accusation of a race hustle scam is indicative of Europeans selectively not remembering that the invention of the so-called white people as a political construct happened recently. This is recent in timeline of America colonizers. These descendants of America's colonizers were welcomed and helped when they came to the shores of America. So that said, to deny black people their owed humane chance to be made whole by reparations and reclamation is going against universal reciprocity. This stance is for promoting injustice to deny correct justice. The negative spiritual, political, and social chaos that is occurring in the world today is due to the power that shouldn't be demonstrating indifference to the greatest crime in the history of the world. And I'm so thankful that we as a people are blessed to have somebody like you champion this situation. Keep up the good work, my brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 630. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Jason. This is Nick from Chicago.
Nick from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys and the new black media once again. You guys have lit the fire under us, changed us up. I remember when I first found your content, I was believing the words out of Bernie Sanders' mouth, and then I realized how much of a bigot he was. I just didn't realize the brainwashing. So this type of content was able, if this guy said this some years ago, I might have taken some of it half seriously about, oh, we're losing and everything. But after you, Tariq Nasheed, Professor of Black Truth, and everybody educated me, and the rest of us, I can actually hear when they're losing, because now they're starting to backtrack on some of those phrases. The fact that they're even talking about it is that they're losing. So I'm glad that you guys kept it on their neck. Be one.
Be one, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And like I say, I mean, if it wasn't an issue here, they wouldn't be talking about it. If he was that confident about it, he wouldn't be saying anything. So what they're trying to do is talk up their position. And Matt, you're not going to be able to talk down reparations. You ain't going to be able to talk it down. You're going to have to take it down. You're not going to be able to talk it out of existence. Either you going to knock it off or it's going to knock you over. That's it. But you're not going to be able to talk it down. This isn't something that you're going to go to the internet and make a video and, oh, well, I'm white and I say so. I'm white and I say so doesn't work over here. Caller from area code 469. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Thomas calling from Dallas, Texas.
Thomas from Dallas. What's on your mind?
Wow, Jason. First thing I want to address is that hairline. It's the haircut, man. that booger goes. I guarantee he goes to an all-white barbershop, man. Cause ain't no way he's going to a black barbershop and they cut him up like that, man.
Brother, that's not an all white barbershop. That's an all blind barbershop is what's going on over there. You will have to convince me that this barber is not visually impaired. That's what you're going to have to convince me.
And on top of that, I mean, think about it. Either he's a tether too, I believe. I guarantee he's a tether. But about this package, this reparations package, man, that in Texas, man, we would call that bullshit, man. And on top of that, you got to look at this, man. We have examples across this country where they throwing money left and right. Brandon Johnson, Eric Adams, the Democratic Party throwing money everywhere. So they can't. I don't want to hear nobody saying ever that we got to have a study. If somebody say study, I'm gonna slap the taste out their mouth because they throwing money everywhere at anybody besides black people. So they can't even come with that anymore. And far as those Negroes in California, they got to be ran up out of there, man. And one thing that Jason, what scares Matt is that the leader is the code. That's what scares him. And when he started mentioning the Foundation of Black Americans, they are listening to us. They are watching what we do. But what kills them is that the leader is the code that we follow. There's nobody they can put out there on Front Street and crucify. So yeah, all we got to do is stay on code, and they don't know how to handle us. B1.
B1, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Why does his hairline look like the Bentley B? You know that Bentley, the hood ornament on the Bentley? Why does his hairline look like the Bentley B? It's just, all right. I'm not going to roast him all night about it. I'm just saying, dude, like most barbers have a barber chair. Does his barber have just a futon that you lay on your stomach? Is that what happens? Like his barber lets you lay down on your stomach while he cuts your hair? It's whatever happened here. I'm like, bro, we ain't roasting you. The jokes make themselves. Caller from area code 214. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Lillian from Louisiana.
All right, Lillian, from where at Louisiana?
Alexandria, Louisiana.
Lillian from Alexandria. What's on your mind?
First of all, I'd like to say that this is an enslaved discriminatory bill for the reluctance for them not to include caste lineage reparations. And Medi-Cal, that's a everybody gets reparations bill. Their opposition has amounted in virtual denial. And this is and was a universal adult children's suffrage. We need a more evenly balanced bipartisanship politics. And that's it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. We appreciate that. Yeah, man. I mean, the barber must have been holding the clippers between his elbows while he was doing this. So I guess everybody needed a job, but he got to work on that. Let me get caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Brother Elijah Carr out of Washington, D.C.
Brother Elijah out of D.C., what's on your mind?
Brother, I got two questions. With this nasty devil, Matt Walsh, why is it he would basically say Tariq is right? At the same token, he's congratulating that we're not getting cash payments. And then my second question is, with this this crap happening in California, what are they so afraid of giving us cash payments? Why is it everything around except the cash payment part? That's what we're demanding.
Well, I mean, certainly the cash payment parts is what will make you whole. That defeats white supremacy. That defeats white privilege. So, yeah, we got to do everything except that. Jewish people are in the position that they're in today because the wealth that was taken from them was aggressively restored. That's the reason that Jewish people as a group are in the position that they're in today. The wealth that was stolen from them was aggressively pursued and aggressively restored, either to them or their descendants. And so, of course, you saw what happened with them. You saw what happened with the Japanese. It's like, oh, with black folk, we're going to 10x that. So, yeah, you can't let this get even these phony proposals they're making, you don't even see those going through. Anything that would do anything substantive for us, they're like, no, we're not going to allow that at all because that changes everything. And their goal is to maintain the status quo, not to overturn it.
Yes, sir. And then, brother, I got a question. Why can't ABC fire that brother for going on air and looking like that? That man looks like a pure mess right there, brother. What's going on? And they want to tell us this is Black History Month, and he's embarrassing us during this whole process.
I want you all to understand. I want you to understand when you're part of an inside joke. They made him their race and culture reporter. Black folks need to understand when they got black women, they send some obese black woman out there to sit next to some slender white woman showing cleavage. Recognize when you're part of a joke. Recognize when they're actually making a joke right now. They put this fella right next to this white man up here. The white man's got a sensible haircut. The Asian woman got one, and they got him sitting next to them talking about he's the representative of black people and black culture for Black History Month. Recognize when you are the subject of a joke. Recognize when they got somebody there to mock you.
Yes, sir. Hey, be one, brother. All right. Thank you so much for tonight's broadcast.
Thank you so much for giving us a call here tonight. And as I said here earlier do make sure you join us next weekend here on the Black Channel. For everyone who's listening here tonight, please make sure that you make a point to join us here next weekend on the Black Channel. Let me get caller from area code 972. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Jason? This is Robert from Dallas.
Robert from Dallas, what's on your mind?
Yes, we see these type of playbook every election season. The Democrats, they come out and they try to make a Hail Mary effort to appease, the black agenda, and they know that reparations is on the table, and for them to just openly put out these policies. It's like an open slap in the face. Like, what do you think is the goal for this? Is to not offer us something?
Correct. It's to not offer you anything. It's to stall and waste your time. Remember, election day is coming no matter what. Election day is coming no matter what. So if they know that you're too slick, you're too on the game, you're too savvy about this, can we fool them? Okay, call it reparations and then fill it with absolutely nothing to do with reparations whatsoever, and see if we can fool enough people. See if we can fool enough of them to get them to show up on election day. Remember, they waited until 2024 to spring this bait and switch. They got reparations all in the title, and then you read the bill. This ain't got a damn thing to do with reparations. Not a damn thing. So the whole thing is about just at this point now, it's shameless, blatant attempt to deceive you. Nothing. We're not giving you nothing. We're just here to deceive you now. And let's just see if we can get away with it. Now, we've been calling it benign neglect, but the reality is now it's just open contempt. Let's just see if we can fool you. But no, we're not trying to give you anything. We heard what you said. We want to see if you're going to go through with it. And we waited until 2024 because, well, when election day comes around, we're going to tell you, oh, we working on reparations right now. See these bills we put through the legislature earlier this year? That's the argument they're going to make. And by the way, Roland Martin, coming through looking like a butterball, is going to be back here in November, and he'll be one of the people telling you that, you see, what it is they trying to put through something in California, and y'all stupid fools ain't going for it. So mark my words, this is the kind of bullcrap bait and switch, empty suit legislation that they introduce here so that folks like Roland Martin and Michael Emotep, yes, I'm naming you, nigga, and the rest of these folks in the old dead black media, they'll be coming back in November and claiming that this is real policy and this is substantive change and this is really what we need and y'all need to go for that. Mark my words, they'll be back and they'll be sitting up here pushing this and telling you and me we should be going for this. At least the Democrats are offering something. That's what they'll be saying then. Caller from area code 347, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name is John J. from Alpharetta, Georgia.
John J. from Alpharetta, what's on your mind?
Well, basically, you kind of covered it, but it's just the blatant disrespect that they have for black people, that they would offer this on election year. It's clearly a scam. We have to sit back and watch them give the whole store to everybody else, and they ain't offering no food packages. They getting straight cash, and they gonna offer us this, and they just really think we're idiots. It just almost seems like they just think black people are just dumb. I remember when Joe Biden got elected, you said something. You was like, now everything is on them. They got to prove the black media wrong. And now we see 4 years later, here they come again. It's like you were dead right when you said that. So
look, it's for all the marbles, man. If nothing matters after November, if they show up in November, if Biden loses, understand, mark my words, everybody and their mama is going to be blaming us. After all of this illegal alien supporting and LGBT boosting and all this other stuff, if Biden loses, they will not be blaming white women. They won't be blaming the white working class. They won't be blaming LGBT. They won't be blaming Latinos. They will be laying it squarely and strictly at the feet of black people. Particularly the descendants of the slaves. They're going to lay it squarely at our feet, and they're going to be talking about all of you clowns talking about reparations, or you ain't going to vote. You gave Trump the White House. You know, if you had given up that reparations, you'd still be there, wouldn't you? Well, there's bigger things. Well, you know what? Now you got 4 more years to go home and contemplate whatever them bigger things are. You got plenty of time to do it now, don't you, Biden? And go take Kamala Mammy with you. I'll let you have the last word.
Exactly. Yeah, just the last word. That brother looked like somebody edged him up with a broken piece of glass. He probably went to the barbershop Eddie Murphy went to in Coming to America. That's where he got his haircut at. But anyway, B1, I'm out.
B1, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Yeah, man, I'm just talking about this. It's one of those things here. Did the barber kick the hair off of his head? I mean, did the barber Bruce Lee that hairline into place? I don't know. Call from area code 804. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Ben, Chester, Virginia.
All right, Ben in Chester, Virginia. What's on your mind?
Was Walsh talking about when he was talking about enslavement of whites in North Africa? I guess he was talking about that little occurrence during the Jefferson administration, where a handful of whites got caught by pirates, and thus the Americans started an operation, and therefore they created the Marines after that, and it's part of the Marine song, By the Shores of Tripoli, whoop-de-whoop. I guess that's what he was talking about. But that didn't last for very long, and if he's smart, he would know that that's not even comparable to what we went through with the transatlantic slave trade. And after the transatlantic slave trade, you had the internal slave trade. After the internal slave trade, so on and so forth, 400 years later.
Well, I mean, no, he's not stupid. He's just grasping at straws. He knows it's a phony argument. He knows it's in no way comparable. He knows it's completely irrelevant. He just got to say something, because at the end of the day, the real issue here is, by the way, that was in Africa, Matt. So if you really want to make an issue of it, hey, that's between you and Africa. Right. Now cut our check.
Right. And another thing, I don't know why. I guess he's there to calm whites down from this, to reassure them, because that would be the last person that I'd have speak on this issue if you're trying to break the resolve of black people who are pro reparations. That just seems like a bad political political move. Seeing trash bags like him speak just solidifies our resolve This definitely needs to happen. This is definitely something we want to rub in their faces. This is definitely an L we want them to take. If they want a chance on this, they have to just let the black Democratic shills run their mouths. Don't let someone like that speak. That to me, that makes no sense. But I guess they're not as bright as I thought.
Brother, they are not bright at all. They're just using what the hell they got. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Yeah, I mean, the brother's hair looks like the barber had a skill saw when he went to work up there. It's just sit back and trust the process. Just sit back and trust the process, will you? Caller from area code 901. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Ifa Shalai, the fitness guru, better known as Dr. Monitor. How you doing, brother?
Okay, what's that name again?
Ifa Shalai.
All right, Ifa Shalai, what's on your mind?
Man, hey, look, I listen to you a lot, man. Keep pushing what you're doing. These folks not trying to give us that check. You played a video once before where Martin Luther King talked about we're going to get this check, and they're trying to intellectualize in a way to try to demonize you for trying to be free, for you trying to get what you're supposed to have. Any other group, oh, man, yeah, if they Hispanic, you deserve something. Jewish, you deserve something. But if you black, well, it's supposed to be for everybody. They make this whole idea of people of color or minorities and lump us with that. We as black people need to fight for our own rights and keep doing so. We're doing so in Memphis. Well, I'm out of Judaism, man. Keep spreading that great word, brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller from area code 559. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Name's Martin, calling from Oakland.
All right, Martin from Oakland. What's on your mind?
On my mind, I'm thinking about the recent package that was passed with Congress for the war with Hamas and Israel. I think it was $95 billion. I just find it really ironic because they don't really need a teleprompter when they want to pass a huge package like $100 billion. There's no need for itemized ledgers. So I'm always, becoming more weary.
Oh, no committee? Nobody had to have a committee. Nobody had to have a commission. Nobody had to have a researchers. Nobody had to have a task force. It was just, no, cut the check.
Right. No, exactly. No type of discussion at all, right? And when they have this teleprompter up here for black people, it's almost like I already know how you feel, right, Jay? Like they don't usually need a teleprompter to talk to black people. They say it with a chest. So they got the whole teleprompter out for black people. And I'm like, come on now.
Like I say,
what's your point on that?
The civil rights generation taught them that this kind of crap works. And so since the civil rights generation taught them that we'll go for this, they've been trying to rerun that playbook ever since. So I've told everybody, when they keep asking me, Jason, what do you think they're going to do? I'm like, they're going to do the same thing they've been doing because they don't take us seriously. What they want to see is if we really will let this son of a gun burn down, then they going to back up off of it. But it's not going to be one election cycle that will convince them you are serious because they are in denial. They've got people like Roland Martin and Simone Sanders and Michael Eric Dyson and Mark Lamont Schill reassuring all of them that don't worry, this is a temporary tantrum and all you got to do is let them blow off some steam, but they going to come back and support you. Don't worry about it. And meanwhile, you just cut them their check while they're reassuring you that we're going to be showing up. So it's going to take a few election cycles of failure of letting them smash their faces before they actually take us at our word. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Because remember, it's not in their interest to believe us. It is actually anathema to their interest to believe us. They have absolutely no incentive for what we're saying to be true. They need what we're saying to be exactly the opposite. So there is no incentive on their part to just walk up and accept what we're saying. They're going to have cognitive dissonance. They're going to have denial. They need for this not to be true. Not they want it to be true. They need this to be false. So it's going to take a bunch of times of this to happen before they accept, I'll be damned, y'all really are serious. You ain't going to do nothing until you get this. Then you're going to start seeing them move. Then you're going to start seeing Joy Reid changing her damn tone along with her hair tone. Let me get caller from area code 510. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Mr. Jason Black. This is Black Voltron calling on the Deep East Side, Oakland, California.
Black Voltron out of Oakland. What's on your mind, brother?
Well, first things first, man. That nigga's hairline, god damn, man. I stopped watching the local white mainstream media for several years now, and then when you showed that picture of that brother, I was like, wait a minute. I recognized the Asian woman and the white guy from Channel 7 News out here in San Francisco Bay Area. But that nigga, I'm like, nigga, please, who cut your motherfucking hair? Like, clearly, you went to the blind, quote-unquote, barber, and that nigga cut your hair in braille. I'm like, nigga, they put you on TV like this? Like, nigga, you ain't never seen a mirror before?
I mean, front and center. They didn't just put him on the news. No. They put him front and center and said, we're giving you 4 minutes of broadcast time. 4 minutes. Dude, I mean, they gave him the spotlight.
On the Summer Jam screen and the Jumbotron, clowning. I'm just like, please tell me your mama and your daddy never raised you to make yourself presentable, to put you on TV like this. You embarrassing what's left of us foundational Black Americans out here in the Bay. You making us all look like fools. I'm just like, who put this nigga on TV?
This fella looked like one of the brood from the X-Men. That's what he looks like. He looks like one of the brood from the X-Men with this big thing hanging off the back of the head. So I'm just saying, and by the way, if this is what he looks like for this job, can you imagine what the rest of his family and his friends are shaped up like? So he might be the good-looking one.
Oh, janky as hell. Janky as hell. It's like, nigga, the 1986 wannabe curly top has been played out for about, going on almost 40 years. Nigga, you need to, step it up a little bit and get updated with your hairlines.
No, brother. I mean, that ain't even that's not even a curly. That's not even a curly top, brother. It looks like the barber edged him up with a Frisbee. So whoever did that, I hope he can file a class action lawsuit because he's got liability coming. If he ever loses his job, he can claim liability.
With that fresh Klingon style cut. But in all seriousness, back to the reparations. I went to several of the reparations task force in 2022 and 2023. And the last one I went to out at Mills College in Oakland, I actually got a chance to talk with Senator Stephen Bradford for a little while. And I was like, man, Senator Bradford, how come you can't just give us reparations like the illegals and the refugees and all these other people? It's like, brother, I really want to do that, but they're not going to go for it in the Assembly and the State Senate. I said, well, if first you're going to succeed, you keep trying. I mean, Japanese, when they put their reparations task force, they've been doing it since 1945, and they kept doing it for the last 40 years until they got it. I said, they're not even a fraction of what we are as foundational Black Americans in population demographics. Why just keep doing it until we get it? Eventually we gonna get it, but you got to try first. You can't be scared to do it. It's like, man, they're not gonna go for it. They're not gonna go for it, brother. I really want to do it. So that I kind of pulled back after that from the reparations task force. I knew it was gonna be some bullshit. They were already telegraphing, we're not gonna get cash. So I'm like, okay, well, we got to get rid of these, these Negroes who are political, and we got to get reparationists. Political candidates on the local, state, and federal level. That's all it comes down to. It. We got to back our own candidates like Marcel Dixon, and we got to put them up here.
I mean,
so
brother, look,
within our interests.
You make an excellent point.
These political people.
You make an excellent point about the Asians. The Japanese kept at that for decades till the Bill Clinton administration. You make a very excellent point about that.
That's right.
And this dovetails back to the point I've always made. Politicians, at the very least, are supposed to be your spokespeople. While we were still in chattel slavery, Frederick Douglass was speaking up for us. Now, I'm not saying about elected officials, but I am saying, by the way, just what happened when you got spokespeople are not supposed to be speaking up because there's a guarantee you're going to get what you want. They're supposed to be speaking up because there's a need. And someone is supposed to vocalize that and put that into the national conversation and in the national narrative. Your politicians, regardless of, quote, it passing the House or the Senate, you're supposed to be speaking on my behalf. Whether it passes the House or the Senate is irrelevant. Were you stomping for it? So when you take a look at Donald Trump, Matt Gaetz, and the rest of these Republicans and whatnot, they stomping for it. They're not going back to their constituents with their lips poked out. Well, I was going to promote it, but them Democrats ain't going to vote for it, so why would we do that right there? You never hear that from them. Exactly. Whether it goes up or goes down, most of the time it goes down for them. They're like, hey, you elected me, and the only difference is these other folks ain't going to tolerate that garbage. You elected me, and I'm going to support your interests whether the vote passes or not. I am going to force them to vote against it. But you gonna know I was speaking up and standing up for you. And that's why you need to vote for me, because I speak on your behalf. And if it does come up for a vote, I vote on your behalf. That's the whole difference right there. This idea where, we can't get it through. It sounds like you're not promoting our interests. It sounds like you're promoting the Democrats' interests.
And that's therein lies the problem we've had since the end of the Civil War and into Reconstruction. Well, actually, at the end of Reconstruction, that we used to have political candidates that actually supported us, in the Reconstruction era. But ever since the 60s, you had these handkerchief head, Bojangles dancing, buck dancing ass Negroes that said, well, we only can get so much, and there's only so much we can do. It's like, nigga, I didn't vote for you to get up there and tell me some bullshit. Nigga, either you stop for us, or we'll find somebody who will. And actually, I told Senator Bradford just that. I said, we're not going to go for this, right? Either we're going to either you go for cash reparations, or we can't support you. I mean, I got to be honest with you, Senator. Everybody else gets cash, a check, even illegal alien non-citizens. Why can't foundational Black Americans get a check like everybody else is getting in the state of California? There's no reason. You got at the time, you have $100 million surplus budget. You can cut the check and put them in payments. Black folks don't care. Just as long as we get in our fair share, that's all that matters.
And beyond that, though, brother, beyond that, they're not even being advocates. Elon Musk is out there discriminating against Black folks to the point they got to file lawsuits on him. And California is still rolling out the red carpet for him, but your Black politicians ain't calling him out over that. So when I'm talking about what we're supposed to get, by the way, even for the private sector, for the things we're supposed to get, they're not advocates for us there. YouTube, Google, Facebook, Uber. We can go down the damn list. There are all these companies out there and whatnot. They're not advocates for us for what the government owes us. They're not advocates for us for what the private sector owes us. They're just quiet across the damn board. So the bottom line is, first of all, you got to get fed up with the way things are and say, okay, this is unacceptable. That's where we're at now. Now that we say it's unacceptable, they're looking to see if the other shoe drops. Jason, what's the other shoe? The other shoe is where you do something about it. I'll let you have the last word.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's 2024, and the reckoning is happening. We have a state election in March, and we got a big time election in November. I'm sorry, I'm B1 all the way. If you're not Black first, not for Black interests, not there for getting Black people tangibles, I'm sorry, I'm not voting for you. Barbara Lee, your ass is gone. All the rest of these, Stephen Bradford, all the rest of these handkerchief head Negroes in the state and federal legislature and Congress and senators, if y'all not going to do for us as Black folks, y'all need to go. We'll find somebody who will replace you. I'm voting the couch in 2024. I'm sorry. Y'all niggas are gone. B1 to the fullest, and thank you for this broadcast, Jason. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for giving us a call here tonight. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. You can vote recliner 2024, but don't sit up here and vote against your interests. Don't support people who they had their opportunity to advocate for us and speak for us, at the very least, to be our spokespeople and to say in unapologetic terms, and they couldn't be bothered to even do that. They couldn't do that. Now you go and get this pathological list of drunkards. get all these drunks and drug addicts and all these folk up here on their pills and every damn thing else. No, get them the hell up on out the way. And tell them we're not supporting none of y'all across the board here. We're supporting black interests, not you. The very least you could do is say it to the rest of the country, the rest of the state, the way we said it to you. Now that's being our representative. Imagine having a representative who doesn't communicate the words you said. Yeah, we heard what you said. Yeah, we won't say something else. Sounds like you're campaigning to not be my representative. What you gonna do about it? Oh, trust me, there's plenty I can do about it, starting with staying home. Let's see if you can go get your own vote. Since you're representing somebody else, I suggest you beat their door down for the vote. Caller from area code 917, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Darryl. I'm calling out of Yonkers, New York.
Darryl out of Yonkers, what's on your mind?
You know, good evening, Jason Black. I see a lot of these black politicians all over the country, you know, and when they be on these platforms, I see them. I see one down there in Mexico bucking for the immigrants. I see them all over, and I see them just like outright disregarding their own people. When we talk about reparations, they look at us like we're stupid. So what is it with these black politicians, Jason Black?
What you're finding out is that they are owned. They didn't come from the grassroots. These were individuals who were selected by the political party and then presented to you through the clergy, through the political machine, through the media. But what you're finding out is that, by the way, you ain't really got nobody who can vouch for them. You don't have anybody who can say, hey, this is your man. You don't actually have that. We are the first generation ever. Understand this, we're the first generation ever that has questioned the credentials of these people that the political parties have put in front of us. We're the first ones to ever question that and say, hey, by the way, I couldn't help but notice I came back to check on you. The civil rights generation did not come back to check on them. They voted them into office, hope for the best. We're the first generation that is not voting people into office and hoping for the best. We're the first one coming in the door saying, by the way, before I vote for you, I want to know specifically what you're going to do for me. You know, the same way that Asians talk to their representatives and white folk talk to their representatives and Latinos talk to their representatives. Yeah, I'm asking you the same thing now. What are you going to do specifically for us? Because Asian politicians don't come in talking about they serving everybody. They come in talking about what they're going to do for the Asian community. You up there in New York, at Italian politicians talk about what they're going to do for the Italians. Irish talk about what they're going to do for the Irish. Jewish politicians, that's the only thing they talk about is what they're going to do for Jewish people. The black politicians show up and talk about how I'm representing all the mother folks who said they're going to do something for their people. I'm representing them. But I want you to vote for me too. The only difference is now we're telling them we need to hear what your agenda is. And what we found out is they don't have one. Now you've reached the other side of the coin. Now that you see they don't have your agenda at heart and your interest at heart, the only question remaining now is, do you do something about it? And they are hoping to call our bluff that we don't actually do anything. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller code 404. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, my name is Slim. I'm calling from Atlanta area.
Slim from Atlanta, what's on your mind?
I would like, how you doing, first of all? Wonderful show. I catch you sometime I can't find you. But I would like to know, are you familiar with the Pope letter to Obama?
Okay. Brother, we're not here to play trivia questions here tonight here. I'm aware of a lot of things in that regard here. Please respect our time. What's on your mind?
Well, according to this letter, it addresses our being chattel slaves and slave to the state, taken from slavery to citizenship due to the 1871 Act of Congress.
but the Pope dissolves the U.S. corporation as a company. The U.S. corporation is a.
Caller from area code 929. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. My name is Daryl from Chicago.
Daryl from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Jason, excellent broadcast as always. You know, you've been saying this to us for the last 10 years, and it's come back to bite these people in the butt now, and it's really going to be who's going to do reparations, who's going to get it done. It's not a question of who or what, is just what time. It's the time is now. And the thing is that I thank you very much for bringing out those facts and let them know that they can't rerun that line again or that line of questioning again. And they think that they think we're going to sit down at the table again until you say reparations and cut the check first. That's when we sit down. That's the bottom line. Thank you so much for the black media and doing what you do.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. And understand something. The only time that they were even discussing reparations was in our presence. That ain't good enough. You need to get over there in front of your white colleagues. And here's the way politics is supposed to work, people. The way politics is supposed to work is you're our representative. You're supposed to tell the white politicians, the white Latinos, the Asians, we ain't supporting a damn thing any of you are doing until you support what we are doing over here. Your representative is supposed to be telling them that, hey, we ain't supporting a damn thing. We're damn sure not voting for illegal aliens to get Medi-Cal. We're not voting for a freeway. We're not voting for education. We ain't voting for nothing. We are not going to support anything you're trying to do until you demonstrate support for what we trying to do. You got black politicians always telling you about what we can't get done. And I'm like, okay, is it your job to hold your vote for ransom? Aren't we supposed to be electing you? And when other folks want your support, aren't you supposed to be holding your vote for ransom? And tell them, hey, we're not supporting anything you do on account of the fact that you're not supporting us. So take a look at your black politicians. They should be voting no on everybody else's agenda. You voted no on ours. Therefore, in response, we will vote no on everything you bring up. Just recognize the whole black caucus is going to vote along with the Republicans. We will vote against everything that you put up. I'm representing my constituency. I came to you for your support. You told me I can't support that. Okay, when your bill comes up, we're not going to support that either. And these folks need to show you their track record. These politicians over here said they will not support it. Bring it up for a vote. Show me everybody who didn't support it. And then when they bring something up for a vote, I want you to show that you're going to vote against it. Now that's how politics is supposed to work. And that is what your political representation is supposed to do. Because that's what you and I would do. If you and I had some fella next to us and we told him, okay, this is what we got to get, and he's telling you, I don't think I can help you out with that. I don't really agree with that. It's like, okay, fine. When he come back around next week, hey, Jason, can you go ahead and help me get this loan for this farm equipment? No, Jack, I don't think I can help you with that. Well, why not? On the kind of the fact that when I came to you last week, you told me you couldn't help me with this reparations package, so you can't help me with the reparations package. I can't help you with the farm equipment. It go down like that sometimes, buddy. But you know, if you can sit up here and get me something done on this reparations thing, I think I can get you something done on this farm thing. You know, you feel what I'm putting down? You feel me? Folks, that's the way politics supposed to go. And you don't see, now you hear Jason Black talking this way, but you haven't heard your black politicians say, we're going to put forward reparations, and anybody who votes against it, we will show them in response, we're going to vote against whatever you bring up because you need our vote. We're going to vote against it. That will be the response. If you vote against reparations, when you bring your bill up, we vote against that too. And if everybody cannot be equally comfortable, then damn it, everybody will be equally uncomfortable. Now that's what happens when you have real political representation. Caller from area code 770, you're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, hi, this is Black Space Warrior calling in.
Okay, brother. What's your name again?
Yeah, Black Space Warrior.
Okay, Black Space
Calling
Warrior,
in.
what's on your mind?
Yeah, man, I just, I'm observing it's just so many weak politicians in our neighborhood. Just not a neighborhood, but our people would just have so many traitors amongst us. It's like they don't even know what quid pro quo is. You're supposed to get something, give something, get something, or vice versa. They're just looking out for themselves, and we just really need to flush the toilet, for lack of better words, because they're all pretty shitty. And we need more of these Marcel Dixon types, definitely. But thanks for taking my call, and enjoying your broadcast.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, let me get caller from area code 321. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is Antoine from Orlando. I like everything you said. I would also say that we need to look at and see what some of these Republicans are doing. What I mean by that is that the Tea Party people took over the Republican Party. We need to start people that don't do what we want to do. They have this thing where, like, I've seen the Republicans do it, where the Republicans don't do what they want them to do. They, like, I forgot the term, but they kick them out of office. A recall. We need to start doing these recalls on some of these politicians that refuse to do what we want to do. Because I noticed on the Republican side, when they start doing these recalls, they woke up. They start doing. I don't agree with what they're doing, but we have to admit they're getting what they want to get done.
Oh, no, I mean, they are definitely advocating for their base. They're advocating for their constituency, and they're advocating for their interests. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to advocate for theirs. I'm not upset with Matt Walsh for being a white supremacist. I just want to go ahead and point it out. But, he's doing what he does. This is what the bad guys do. They're going to advocate for theirs. But how the hell are we going to be the good guys and we don't advocate for ours? We can vote for people who will sit up here and look us square in the eye and say, yeah, we ain't advocating for that. We ain't doing that. It's like, okay, at some point here, he's no longer the problem and we are. It is one thing if he's not supporting our interests. Another thing if we're allowing someone to go back who has not supported our interests. I'll let you have the last word. Okay, caller has been abducted. It's quite all right there. Like I say, that's the way politics is supposed to work. Politics is supposed to work like that. Politics is supposed to be in your best interest. Politics is supposed to be promoting your agenda. At the very least, these people are supposed to speak up on your behalf. They're supposed to be the spokespeople who are night and day selling your agenda. Every time you turn around, they're selling the agenda. And, well, Jason, what can we do if they won't vote for it? Your politician is supposed to, whatever them other folk bring up who didn't support you, they broke the coalition, or whatever they want, we ain't supporting it. We're not supporting that. Let me explain something to y'all right now. Don't you know that the Congressional Black Caucus was supposed to vote with the Republicans for whoever's going to be the Speaker of the House to let the rest of the Democrats know that if you don't support cash payments for reparations, watch as we going to go ahead and flip on some of these votes. That's what you do when you are serious. If you're not going to support cash reparations, that's fine. You have the option of not supporting it, but watch us flip on some of these votes. Right when you need us, oh hell, what do you know? We voted with the Republicans. I'll be damned. Well, if you want to prevent that in the future, you can go ahead. Next time we talk about reparations, you ain't going to treat it like a punchline. Correct? And that's how you show them you damn serious. The black politicians should have been did that. And they haven't done that, which means they're not protecting our interests. They're protecting somebody else's. You don't have to vote for the whole Republican agenda. You sit and say, by the way, any Democrats who don't support us on this next vote, we're all going to vote as a block. And by the way, the Republicans will get their way. Oh, you don't want that to happen? Then you better find a way to get them dollars up off them Ukrainians and drop it off over here. I bet you they'll find a way to get it done then. But they're not, because the folk that we put in place now are already the bought and paid for puppets that were selected by the party. Our job is to unselect them. Our job is to unselect them. And that from here on in, you want folk from the soil. And if they're not kicking the line that we're saying and then enforcing that, that's it. We're done with it. We're done with it. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal or Venmo. Thank you very much here to Mr. Pollard, Mr. Prescia, Miss Enoch, DeAndre, and Rhonda. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified, Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. Please remember here, I'd like to invite all of you to join us back here next weekend. Not just tomorrow, but next weekend in particular. Mark it on your calendars. I want all of you to join us here next weekend for the Black Channel. Don't be surprised if I surprise you. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program. Thank you for watching live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is